Let's go to all the other issues before us tonight. As I said, busy. Sky News senior political reporter Trudy McIntosh. I'm hoping we'll get Caroline Marcus, but we'll start with Trudy. She's across it all. Hey, we've seen those pictures, Trudy, of the main big day of this Washington visit. Now, you and I have been on these things before, plenty of hoopla. There was that state dinner, of course, at the White House. So much of this is stage managed for their consumption over there and for our consumption here. That's the nature of these official visits between leaders. Some announcements made too. We know critical minerals, for example. All of that would have been well and truly locked down before the PM even left Canberra. But those comments from President Biden on China, to me, they're the real takeout of today, because we know from here our PM is off to Beijing and he's got to do a bit of a tap dance in Beijing, coming almost straight from the US, doesn't he?
Yeah, this is a hugely important visit from Anthony Albanese, not one that's unexpected. He will have had plenty of time to prepare for this by the time he gets on the ground in Beijing. He'll be the first Australian Prime Minister to go to China, be allowed to go to China is the real point here because of that diplomatic deep freeze. And that will happen in early November in around just over a week or so. As you can see here, it's pretty close. Interesting to see our biggest ally in the United States. We're heading over to what used to be our biggest trading partner, still is, but now we know that relationship is much more delicate than it once was, given China's coercive actions against Australia. I thought the comments, as you mentioned, Peter, that Joe Biden made in the Rose Garden in that joint press conference were really clear-eyed in his assessment about China, that in every area the United States views itself in competition with China. It does not want to see an all-out conflict, but in every area we're in competition. That is not language you hear out of the Australian government. They don't speak in that way. That we know since Anthony Albanese was elected, they have successfully managed to reset the relationship, and huge breakthroughs when it comes to those $20 billion in tariffs. The release of journalist Chang Lei was incredibly welcomed as a step towards making sure this trip happened, but hugely important for Anthony Albanese, Peter, on the ground.
And look, I have to say, we don't hear that language from our Prime Minister, the Biden language about the strategic challenge of China. But I have to say, behind closed doors, if you're talking to security agencies, defence agencies, you hear that time and time again. So that's a little bit of a difference. We know it, we don't say it, like President Biden did. I thought it was some interesting comments too, Caroline. I'll bring you in if I can. Annalise Nielsen, of course, our Washington correspondent, she made the point that there was a bit of nervousness and disquiet in the US media, given everything that's going on in the Middle East, that there was not so much the official visit per se, but a big gala dinner, that went ahead. Now, I know you can't move a leader-to-leader date diary stuff, that's too hard, but all the other elements, like the official dinner, you can move. Do you think that should have been scaled back?
Well, I think there was something very jarring about seeing these leaders, dressed up in their penguin suits, and the first ladies dressed up in their glittering ball gowns when there is war in the Middle East and thousands of people losing their lives over there. There's something about the optics of that doesn't look good. I accept that if they had pulled out or demoted the state dinner to just a visit, that would have been another slap in the face for our Prime Minister, who already had to cop the American president pulling out of the Quad summit. So this was kind of a bit of a compensation for that. So I don't think that would have gone down very well, but I think he would have understood. I mean, I know they made some concessions. They were supposed to have this band, the B-52s, do the entertainment, and I think they hoped that by cancelling that and stopping that to express, respect for the people facing sorrow and pain during the war, that would be enough. But I still don't like the optics of the whole thing.